I'm here with Gina Biggs, creator of Red String, and why don't you introduce us to the book?
Oh, wow. Okay, so Red String is all about love and growing up, and it follows 3 high school students and their adventures into adulthood. And it's online at redstringcomic.com, and it's also published in book format. So, yeah.
Excellent. So how did you get started with it? Did it start out as a webcomic and then became published? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was doing print books before I did Red String, and they were really hard to sell because I didn't have a pre-ready audience.
Yeah.
And then I started Red String with the idea of I'll build up an audience first. And then Dark Horse came out of the blue and asked to publish, and they did the first 3 volumes. And then I've been doing self-publishing from volume 4 on.
Oh, okay. So where did the genesis of the storyline come from?
Oh, wow. I had this little scribble in a sketchbook that said, she questions her fate, this character. And I had to come up with a story around it. And I love mythology. And at the time I was reading into Japanese mythology. And I came across the red string of fate, which is when 2 people are born, they're connected by an invisible red thread. And as they go through life, the thread gets shorter and shorter until the day they meet. And I thought that was such a sweet idea. I built on that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. Was this the first comic you did, or is it?
Oh no, I had done another one beforehand, and it was my first comic failure type comic. You learn a lot of lessons with a first comic. And I just figured out what works, what doesn't work. Make sure you plot out your entire story before you start, because if you don't, you write yourself into a corner and then you go, oops, I have to retcon things.
I feel like there's a lot of publishers these days who still don't do that.
Yeah, so Red String's planned to the end of the story. I know where I'm going with it.
Oh, okay.
So.
Now, Volume 5 is the latest one that's out now.
Yeah, it's in Previews magazine this month.
Okay.
So the September catalog, page 302. But
can you tell us anything that's going to happen plot-wise in it, or a little teaser?
Volume 5 is basically, after 30 chapters, the main characters, they end up bringing their relationship to the next level, and then things start to fall apart. And it's the dealing with hardship and heartbreak and the expectations of family obligation versus your dreams.
Okay.
So
did you take any of this from your own life?
A lot of stuff from Red String is either influenced from experiences I've had or friends that I've known that have had experiences. One of the things I do with Red String is try and keep it a little more grounded in reality. If I question and go, I would have never reacted that way, I don't do it, and it kind of keeps the melodrama down a bit, and it seems like readers really kind of like that aspect and that angle.
Okay. Now it looks like it's manga influence, definitely.
There's definitely manga influence, but there's also, I grew up reading Conan the Barbarian and X-Men and Bill and Ted comics.
Yeah.
And between the two, I found manga, and I loved that there were women creators, so many women creators, and it inspired me to push on with it. And between those two, Red String is kind of a merging of all my influences growing up. There's definitely a high manga influence, but if you look at the paneling and stuff and the writing, it's definitely written for an American audience. I'm not trying to pretend to be manga. It's just something that has been influenced in my life and in my road to becoming an author.
How do you think your writing and your drawing styles have evolved over the years?
Oh my, by leaps and bounds, especially between Volume 4 and Volume 5.
Oh, okay.
I took a year of figure drawing classes, and I'd never been taught at schools. I was always self-taught. And while it was good, I knew that I could improve, and that year of figure drawing classes was invaluable. I can totally see, when I look at Volume 4 and I look at Volume 5, I go, whoa, they're the same, I drew that. And if you look from Volume 1 to Volume 5, oh my goodness. I did a progression thing at one point with some art and put profile shots and full shots of certain characters side by side each year of doing the comic, and it's amazing how different it looks from the beginning to now.
Well, if you could choose a mainstream comic to draw or write, what would you choose?
Wow, that's a tough one because I really stick with indie comics and manga, and they all have beginnings and endings.
Yeah.
I suppose if I had to choose one of the mainstream corporate comics, it would be X-Men, but like with a very, very heavy focus on Gambit and Rogue. Because, even growing up, it was the romance part that kept me reading the comics.
Yeah.
And, then I found shoujo manga, which was like, oh, look, lots of romance, and it has a beginning and an ending. Yay! It wasn't they're broken up, oh, they're together, oh, they're broken up. It's been 20 years. Can we get something? So
it seems like shoujo manga really opened up a lot of companies' eyes to the fact that girls would read comics.
Yeah.
And now there's Marvel doing like their heroes and their girl comics.
they're trying, but they're still missing some of the points that make shoujo so attractive to female readers. They are trying, but it's still, you look at the covers and they're like, wow, it's still, a size 0 pants girl with a size 38D breast size, and you're going, that's not me.
Yeah.
I can't even relate to that.
Yeah.
And just the themes are still not quite, we don't want to see them talking about laundry and stuff. We want to see them being superheroes or being strong, independent female characters without the, some sexy is good, but sometimes it just, one of the things I do is I draw characters with all body types, and there are a lot of bigger girls who are like, oh my god, this is awesome, nobody ever represents me in comics, and I see a character that is like me in look, and it makes a difference when you vary your shapes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you said Red String is planned all the way to the end, so how many books is it going to be?
It's going to be 8 total with a special 9th epilogue book that also has like a making of and like all the things that could have happened that I had planned before I got everything together, sketch art and notes and stuff like that. So.
Well, how are you enjoying Dragon Con? How many Dragon Cons have you been to?
Oh, I think I've been coming since 2006 or 7.
Okay.
So for at least 4 years. I can't tell for sure now. They all run together at this point, but Dragon Con's fun. I like it. It's in town for me, so it's huge, and it's a comic convention that has sci-fi and an anime manga presence. A lot of comic book conventions, people are just looking for the books they collect rather than trying new things. And people at Dragon Con are very open to trying new things. So.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Oh, no problem. And one more time, it's redstringcomic.com.
Perfect.